Tris, I think, as you know by now, one of my favorite things to discuss is theme parks and Nintendo. And when those two come together, I am so there. And right now, Tris, I've got 3 juicy rumors for you. Come to us by Orlando Park Stop, specifically Alicia Stella, who has a great track record in the space, involving 3 potentially major expansions or rides or lands, I'll get into it, involving Pokémon, Zelda, and Luigi's Mansion. That's the hottest rumor at the moment, brand new. So I want to talk about all of these, Tris, but which one excites you the most, just based on what I said?
Oh,
man. Of those 3.
I mean, I think Zelda right now. I think it's Zelda right now, yeah.
All right, let's dive into Zelda.
Okay.
So here's the current rumor on what's going on. Now, this actually isn't a brand new rumor because this has been in the, this has been kind of like reported for a few years now at this point. We used to discuss it way back when we were first finding out about the Super Nintendo World plans in general. So, but the current rumor is actually similar to what we heard before, in that the idea is there'd be a new Zelda land coming to Universal Studios Islands of Adventure, taking over the other half of the Lost Continent island that wasn't already taken over by Harry Potter. So that's a pretty sizable chunk of area, especially because almost every attraction there has been shut down now. So there's not really much going on besides like shops and a restaurant. So let me tell you about the updated plans though, because we do have some new rumors. Now again, I want to stress, none of this may happen, although Alicia has a great track record. Theme park plans are notoriously, open to being changed or never happening or being canceled or whatever it is. But right now, the current rumor is that there would be possibly 2 attractions, one main one, then one smaller one, maybe being something like a smaller roller coaster, for instance. And then there would also be a restaurant component possibly as well. But the main attraction is rumored to be a rocking boat ride. So this is apparently a new ride system from a company called Mac Rides. I may have some footage of it up on the screen right now. And it's where there is this log-like vehicle or boat-like vehicle, like more like a canoe in shape, where you travel along a ride track, but that ride track can be hidden under the water, so it doesn't look like you're actually on a ride track. But you can go out of the water as well, so you can go above and below water. It is powered, so it can go forwards, it can go backwards, it can take tight corners, and with it being powered, they specifically mentioned that it could possibly be user-controlled as well. Now, that's not part of the rumor, but the ride system is capable of being user-controlled to the extent of going forward and back and having some light interactive elements. So this would be a water-based attraction. We don't know anything more about the theming or whatever else. So that's where we come in, Tris. What form do you think a water-based Zelda attraction, where you're in a boat, in a log type thing, they go forwards and backwards, what do you think that looks like? Like, where do you go through, what do you draw upon in Zelda to make that a ride?
My mind immediately goes to, there's like a very specific mini-game in Twilight Princess, where you're like sailing down the Zora River, and like you're launching bomb arrows at like a bunch of parts of the canyon, kind of knocking down enemies in the way or like rocks in the way. And I don't think it would be that, but that's where my mind went immediately.
Are you in a boat in that segment?
Yeah, you're in like a little canoe. So it makes sense in that case.
I actually forgot about that. The part I remember was a fishing mini game. Like, I'm pretty sure they won't make this a fishing ride, though. Hey, I'm all for it. That actually makes a lot of sense. And I do want to specify too. The rumor is that this would be based on the video games and not the upcoming movie from Sony. So we can rule that out.
That's good to know.
So probably would be looking to to an element or elements of the games for inspiration. And that part, if I remember now, based on what I'm trying to recall, was pretty action packed.
Yeah.
And which does lend itself well. Like it already does kind of feel like a theme park ride in a way, right?
Yeah, a bit.
And so do you think maybe there could be an interactive component to this, like a where you are like shooting your own like arrows or something? Maybe that's not part of the rumor. I'm just asking.
It's tough because if it is a water ride, there's only so much tech they'll be able to have as part of the mechanism itself. There's only going to be so much you're able to do. Like, they probably wouldn't want you wearing the Mario Kart style AR goggles, because God forbid you drop those in the water, those are done. So
probably not good. Yeah.
No.
And we'll be talking more about AR stuff soon too, as well. Yeah, I wonder. You mentioned Mario Kart. Actually, that's already a ride. That's an interactive shooter. One of the other rumors we'll be discussing is an interactive type shooter thing. And so I wonder, is 3 Nintendo rides where you're shooting things too much? Donkey Kong is evading that with it being a roller coaster based ride, and I wonder if this might be as well. I'm cool with that. I think what I want is something, I don't know if you've been on this ride, Tris, but at Disney World they have the Navi River Adventure, and it's more of like a low-key, laid-back attraction. I don't want this ride to be low-key necessarily, but I'm thinking it's something a little bit more passive. I don't necessarily want every Nintendo ride to be an interactive experience.
Right.
I think it's fine if it's taking us more through set pieces from the Zelda games. I want to see like multiple environments, and I do want some threats to be there as well. But I don't know if we ourselves need to be the ones taking on those threats.
Yeah, you can have like a bunch of rides have things like that where you have a scene play out and it just affects maybe the thing spins around a little bit, or we're gonna reroute you around this thing where it's all part of the ride. It's more of like what the routes what determines the route in that case. But the way you're describing it here actually makes me think more of my favorite game, Wind Waker. And imagine if you're just like in like a larger version of the King of Red Lions for you and your party, and you're just kind of sailing through iconic pieces of Zelda. Like iconic locations in Zelda around here. You can have a section where the big Octo comes out, and now you gotta like whirlpool around it as you then go past it.
That could be really cool. This could be Universal's version of the Pirates of the Caribbean ride that they have at Shanghai Disneyland.
Yeah.
Which uses some really cool new technology, including, to give these really impressive, like, large-scale water-based areas where you're being, like, manipulated by the environment. If they can lean into that and do something for Zelda, that could be really freaking epic. And I'm, the one concern would be if they base it too much on Wind Waker, like, are you just gonna be like in a giant empty room, with water or whatever? But I think they could actually really do some really cool stuff. It doesn't have to be just an ocean-based experience. Like, you could be riding down a river into the ocean, maybe.
Right.
Then that takes you to a giant sea creature that you get to swirl around in a whirlpool or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially if it doesn't choose to adapt something from one specific Zelda game, they can toss in a bunch of references to different Zeldas. You could sail through Zora River first, then through part of the ocean. Pass by Tetra's ship and something from Twilight Princess, and something like maybe there's like a Link on a Loftwing from Skyward Sword like set piece that kind of hangs around nearby. Like, you could probably get by with things like that.
This is what I want. I want like a cinematic version of Zelda that we are experiencing, right? Like, I don't need to be interactive. Maybe if it ends up being it, hey, so be it. I'm there for it. Maybe it'll be great.
Right.
But I do think there is a lot of potential here in a more like passive type experience. Maybe we're still like, it could be that we're still participants in it to the degree that, we're actually in danger here. Like, the ride doesn't ignore that we are there riding through it. But I think it'd be so freaking cool if Link or Zelda or who, these main characters are the ones to come along and save us. Maybe, here we go, Triss. Speaking of Twilight Princess, they had that escort mission, where you need to help the horse and carriage get back to town or whatever. That would be so cool if we are the horse and carriage in this case, in a boat, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, if we are like just these poor innocent citizens, putting, under threat, a little bit like actually how the new Star Tours works, where the idea is we have like, we're accompanying a spy or whatever, that's why they're coming after us. And then Link, in this case, or Zelda are the ones that come along, riding on the Epona or whatever it is, to save us in this case, or on their pirate ship, whatever it may be. That'd be so cool, because you could actually give Link some characterization here, something that they often miss in the games. I would love it if he is an actual character here, unlike the Mario Kart ride, where the Mario Kart characters, they're just the characters from the games. Like, you might as well be playing a Mario Kart race. I would love it if they actually have Link take a critical component here and actually like affecting what happens on the ride.
Yeah, no, I think that could be really neat. And you even mentioning the Mario Kart ride is important, because there's not been a ride where we're intended to be Mario or Link. Like, we're not intended to be the hero. We're there with them. So it would actually work more to what they're trying to do, to have it be like Link or someone like kind of there throughout it, as opposed to us being that role.
Now, to be fair, the Donkey Kong ride could also partially fulfill that role based on what we've seen of it. We don't fully know how the ride's going to work yet at this point. But yeah, I think Zelda really could lend itself well. But there's some amazing set pieces. There's so much they can pull from. And, they don't even need to adhere to a game. Yeah. They could pull inspiration. Like, for instance, I would be very surprised if it actually is themed to Wind Waker, just given the fact that's not the Link most... I feel like, obviously some people will disagree with me, but when I think of Link, my mind doesn't instantly go to the cartoon, cel-shaded Wind Waker version. Right. I think of the more recent 3D version, or not necessarily more recent, but the more commonly seen 3D version. I imagine that's probably what they go for with the ride. Yeah. But that doesn't mean they can't take inspiration from Wind Waker and incorporate elements from all kinds of Zelda games. But I think it would be a mistake just to lock it to one Zelda game.
Yeah. Like if it was like a big land with multiple rides, like a ton of different things to do, I can understand different sections, different rides being themed to specific games. But if this is going to be like Super Nintendo World, like with the Mario section, where it's much more themed to kind of the IP as a whole, I think they are going to want to be spreading things from different elements of the games here.
The only thing I am having trouble imagining them pulling too much specifically, for whatever reason, for Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I have trouble envisioning a ride based on that. Maybe because the idea of a linear ride is so opposed to the open world nature of of those two. But I think, just again, when I think of Zelda, like, my mind still goes to, Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, that kind of like type of gameplay or type of visual style, I suppose.
Well, so here's the thing, right? I mean, this is supposed to be taking over the second half of a land that's currently not really, which means it would be its own kind of smaller land, right? You theoretically, like, it's not just the ride. Like, there's going to be more Zelda in that area. I think that's how you adapt Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Kind of like how Super Nintendo World has the little interactive games to play, where like, you're like spinning the thing with the Goomba or hitting the shell. Do things like that where you're like where you're solving shrine puzzles.
Oh, you know what? This would be such a great idea to like roll out like a smaller escape room type thing. Like, it'd have to be quick. Like, you can't have to be spending an hour here.
Right.
But like, this could be a really neat, like, a little mini dungeon, right? Could you imagine that if you go through a little mini dungeon in groups of whatever, like room to room to room? That could be really freaking cool.
That would be so cool.
Oh man, I don't know if they do it, but hey, at the least, even if it's not like solving puzzles, they could still have a neat like walkthrough type thing where there are still puzzles to solve, but like it's not tied to progressing. Like, you can progress if you want. Maybe there's a reward for it, like you get rupees or something. Because that is one thing we know that Universal loves, and Nintendo, is these interactive experiences at the Super Nintendo World specifically.
Right.
Because Donkey Kong's going to have it as well. So I'm sure Zelda will have a feature related to it, if assuming this rumor comes to fruition. And that could be really neat, having these like more like cerebral based experiences, maybe, where there are like these actual puzzles to solve, or maybe things to translate. I think that could be really freaking cool.
No, I think that'd be fun. I think that would be like a really fun thing to do. You can do it like, you can even do those like Super Nintendo World does, where by doing all those little mini games around, you unlock you get like the little keys to go fight Bowser Jr. You could do that here too, where like through Zelda you get small keys, and then that gives you the boss key to go do whatever the boss experience is, which could be maybe a more intense ride or something. I don't know. But
it retroactively makes the Mario key stuff make even more sense.
It does.
Of course, keys factor into Zelda, so that's a great idea. And there could be like, maybe you get the keys to unlock a little reward either physically in the park or on your like smartphone app. Like, hey, congrats, you got all the keys, whatever. They could do some really fun stuff there. One other quick component of the rumor. This is the part that I actually had the hardest time buying. Is that the current rumor is that they would retheme one of the existing restaurants in the area to be a Zelda-themed restaurant, of course, but inside the Deku Tree. Now, I think that would look awesome. I just struggle imagining, like, why the Deku Tree? Like, why? Like, isn't it weird eating inside this sentient creature, the sentient tree?
That is really strange. Although I was just thinking about how if this is like right next to the Harry Potter area, they probably can't build a Hyrule Castle right next to Hogwarts. That probably would just not look right. So they probably want to go. They probably want to do something other than a castle. And the Deku Tree is also very recurring, very iconic to the series.
You know what? I mean, that is true. That would be a very distinctive thing. If I had to choose a landmark that's not Hyrule Castle that I'd want to see, Death Mountain. I would love to see Death Mountain.
Yes.
Now the thing is, like, that would probably need to be on the bigger side, so maybe spacing's an issue. Though you could do forced perspective tricks. You could have it on the rooftop of the ride building itself.
Right.
You could do all kinds of things to try and make it work. I think that would be really cool, especially if they could figure out a way of having the circular cloud effect around it, or at the least smoke bellowing out. Tokyo Disney Sea already has a really amazing volcano, and if Universal could like do anything that even came close to matching that, that could be really cool.
Yeah, Death Mountain would be incredible, because that is another really iconic place. But I think specifically the Deku Tree does kind of make sense, because pretty much every time it appears, you do go inside it, or you can go inside of it. So, as odd as it is, but
you do go inside. That's true. You're literally like entered through its mouth. Real quick, just before we move on, now that I think about Death Mountain, I'm almost thinking that you can marry that with its boat system. Maybe you hop into a minecart or something that goes off the rails and start riding through lava. It takes you down into into Hyrule River or whatever it's called, and that's like your whole journey. You like minecart, river. Minecart, lava, river, and then who knows what other shenanigans happen along the way, right?
Yeah, that would be kind of cool, like a little tour through Hyrule.
That'd be really fun. I'm excited. I hope it comes to fruition. The original time plan for this original time frame for this rumor to possibly come to fruition was 2030. Word is it could have been moved up now. It might be happening sooner.
Oh, wow.
I hope it does because I want to see it, before I'm dead. So
I imagine even though we mentioned it won't tie into the Zelda movie, it's probably going to be timed around the Zelda movie. Because, we already see, like, Super Nintendo World kind of was timed around the Super Mario Brothers movie. Like, they tied in each other at marketing. They might try to do the same thing with Zelda, because that would be the prime time for it.
That is such a great point, Tris. And it actually lends credence to this rumor, which again has been around for a while, but we have more details now. That does lend credence to the idea that this actually could be happening. We now know the Zelda movie is happening, and if Nintendo wants to, they saw massive success with the movie and Super Nintendo World as is, why wouldn't they want to continue that? So here's hoping it's true because, here's hoping it comes to fruition because I want to see this so bad.
Me too.
All right, let's move on to another rumor, Tris. This one is a little bit, possibly much quicker in the, happening much sooner.
Okay.
Being that Pokemon will be taking over the Spider-Man ride at Universal Studios Japan. So, as we all know, if you follow theme park news, the Spider-Man ride has been announced to be shutting down really soon there, and everyone's wondering what's going to replace it. And the current word, again, from Orlando Park Stop is that Pokemon will be taking over that ride. So what that means is the ride track will still remain, everything around it will be changing, and to be Pokemon themed. And in this case, the rumor is it would take advantage of augmented reality similar to the Mario Kart ride, which would allow you to incorporate possibly your own Pokemon, not necessarily the ones that you have from your own games, but somehow Pokemon you can choose to have with you, incorporate into the ride, and there might be a battle component possibly with you, sending them into battle or whatever it is. And there's not much more known beyond that. But that is a current rumor. But in addition to that, Tris, there's another rumor too that Pokemon will also be coming stateside, specifically to Universal Studios in
Orlando.
Taking over the Simpsons land there, because rumor is Simpsons that Universal's winding down his contract with it because now that Disney owns Simpsons, they don't want to be paying Disney money for this kind of aging IP.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whereas Pokemon is definitely much more vibrant these days still, and so the rumor is that they would either demolish or retheme that land to Pokemon as well. Now, what form that takes, we have no idea because the existing Simpsons ride isn't at all like the Spider-Man ride that Pokemon's taking over in Japan. Plus, Orlando already has that same Spider-Man ride. So wouldn't it make sense to rebuild a clone of Pokemon, which itself is using the same ride track as Spider-Man? They could. It'd just be weird. So what do you make of these rumors overall, Tris?
This one, it's weird because I definitely see Pokemon happening. That makes sense to me. But this inconsistency with what's happening with Spider-Man feels weird to me. I can understand it replacing the Spider-Man ride in Japan, but not replacing it over stateside is a little weird because then do you just not bring that ride? Do you not bring rides in general? Or do you change, if you're going through changing the entirety of the Simpsons land, do you make new Pokemon rides there? Because then Japan's missing out. It's weird. It's shaky.
Yeah, it is a little odd. Now, it's not the first time that we've had rides being based on the same IP take different forms at different parks around the world. So it is entirely possible that the Pokemon we see in Orlando is just a completely different ride or show or whatever it is. We don't even fully know the scale of. I guess we have a basic idea of the scale. But Simpsons Land, to my memory, isn't exactly huge, so that might kind of limit what they can do with it or how much they can do. But in any case, I would be very surprised if it's a clone of, as you said, the Japan one, just because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
At this point, I do buy more into the Japanese side of this rumor than I do the American side.
Yeah.
It just makes, because right now we know the ride is closing currently. It's going to be replaced by something, and Nintendo and Universal Studios announced a partnership over 2 years ago now that we haven't fully seen play out. So the timeline's all making sense.
Right.
So I totally buy that. Simpsons I'm a little iffier on, but I do hope it's true because it'd be awesome to have. If this actually happens, Tris, that would mean, alongside the Zelda rumor, we'd have a Nintendo component in every one of the Orlando parks. Universal Studios with Pokemon, Islands of Adventure with Zelda, and Super Nintendo World and Donkey Kong, and in this third rumor I will be discussing soon, at the upcoming third Epic Universe park in Orlando. So, woo, that would be a triple threat. That'd be huge. That's a modern Triforce, if you remember the Triforce arcade board from back in the day. And, Man, that'd be exciting. So, are you excited for a Pokemon attraction, possibly, Triss?
I am. I really do want to see something Pokemon, and I think it would be great to get. Like, while I am shaky on like what form it'll take, like you mentioned the Spider-Man ride, like it's gonna have AR now for this Pokemon thing. And before you mentioned it'll have a battling component, my mind was going to like Pokemon Snap. Like if you're like riding along a trail or like riding along like the roller coaster ride and some sort of AR, watch Pokemon in these different areas, maybe take pictures. But if there's a battling component, I'm much more curious about how that's gonna go, especially if you get to pick Pokemon, because I feel like that'd be really hard to do in like the line format, like the quick-paced format of a roller coaster. Unless, again, everything ties to, like, the Super Nintendo World app, and on that app you pick, hey, what's your favorite Pokemon? And when you scan in for the ride, it makes sure your favorite Pokemon appears on your screen or something. But
yeah, it's always a little tricky when you're retheming a current ride to something new, and it's something that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Like, some people point to the Frozen ride at Epcot being a prime example of it. Some people do love that ride, but it replaced also a beloved attraction to many, being Maelstrom, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very curious to see how they adapt Pokemon to fit the Spider-Man current ride structure.
Right.
And they may get creative. It could be really good. I'm excited in any case. I just don't know what form that takes, because as you said, like Pokemon Snap seems to be like a more natural type of fit, because I think that could actually be really cool, because it would be a similar type of ride, where you're shooting things, but this time you're shooting things with a camera, and that could be a really fun novel idea. But that sounds like that's not what they're doing based on the rumor.
Right.
Instead, it's going to be a more interactive Pokemon based thing, which could be really neat. I just have trouble envisioning what that looks like, and especially with the AR component. Like, I guess everyone in the ride vehicle, which I think holds 4 or 6 people, I think 6 people maybe.
Okay.
Or maybe even more. They'd each see their own Pokemon, I guess, through the AR goggles. Or are they? Would you see everyone's Pokemon? Is it like a raid battle in Pokemon Go? So.
A raid battle is an interesting format, because with the AR, like the only real Nintendo side of it that we have to go off of, at least in terms of the theme parks, is of course the Mario Kart ride. Which, you're looking around, you're shooting shells at different things, including different racers, and if you look around, you will see the other people from your group shooting their shells as well, but obviously, I think they also wouldn't want to make it too crowded, so.
And I will say, too, the AR technologies that they were using in Mario Kart is really cool. I was a little iffy on it my first try, but once I got used to it, I'm like, okay, this is actually a really neat thing they're doing here.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, and I'm hoping that they can even further improve it with Pokemon to make it an even better, smoother experience. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, at least in Japan, and hey, if it happens in Orlando too, whatever form that ends up taking, I'm there for it. I'm excited. Pokemon's a huge IP. It's about time it's had a proper theme park presence. I think they've had parades at Universal Studios Japan maybe already.
Yeah.
But it deserves more. So,
it does.
All right, Triss. Let's move on to the third hottest rumor of the day. But this one, as far as I'm aware, has not been rumored before. Now, I'm sure we've talked about this through our numerous Super Nintendo World predictions, speculation, discussions over the years. But this new rumor is that coming to Universal Studios Orlando, Epic Universe, the upcoming theme park that has Super Nintendo World as part of it, along with Donkey Kong, the rumor is that there would be another subland to it. So alongside Donkey Kong, we will get another subland in the future, this time themed to Luigi's Mansion.
Ooh.
So we would get, I should specify, a rumor is that it could be a ride, it could be a land. So it may be, it could be smaller than a full land. In any case, if it's a land, that'd be amazing. But the idea is that it will be a Luigi's Mansion-based attraction in which you're traversing a mansion, of course, a haunted mansion, and you're using a new version of the Poltergust to capture ghosts. And that's about all we know at this point. But man, we've talked about this exact right idea, but it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense.
It does.
Basically, I'm picturing like an updated form of like Disney's Haunted Mansion, only interactive. You're going around, you're sucking up ghosts, and that, I think that'd be really fun, especially if they can nail the feel of the Poltergust. Like, if there's actual like good feedback to it, and you're seeing either a 3D or AR component where the ghosts are being sucked into your vacuum. Oh man, that could be so neat.
Yeah, ever since I was young, I always imagined Luigi's Mansion ride being like a fusion of the Haunted Mansion ride and I think it's the Buzz Lightyear ride at Disney World,
right?
Where it's like where it's like laser tag basically, or like shooting lasers. But if you couple that with the AR component, and instead of like a laser gun mounted to the front of it, it's the Poltergust, so you're holding onto it, and you have like rumble features on it and everything. That's a lot that can actually be done just from that one little seat you're gonna have. And if it tours through the whole mansion, That could be really cool. Especially since it sounds like if there's an uncertainty whether it's a whole world or attraction, I'm thinking of kind of like how in current Super Nintendo world, at least in Hollywood, the line up to the Mario Kart ride not only takes you through Bowser's Castle, but also through like the whole Yoshi's Island area. And It makes me wonder if we could see something like that, where after going through the pipe, you would take the path up to Luigi's mansion, and then you go into like the lobby. But all of that, while it's like really cool looking and it's like you're in the world, is technically part of the line for it.
Right. Oh, totally. I think you're right on the money here. I mean, that is also similar to how the Haunted Mansion works. Like,
right.
You enter through the mansion, but then the ride itself takes place in a seemingly in the same mansion, but actually in a building behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be really cool. Like, if they can capture like that opening essence of the GameCube's first cutscene, where Luigi's like approaching the mansion with the creepy trees all around, that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I always love the visual style of it. They captured a bit of that in the Mario movie, even through the Luigi's Mansion-esque sequence where Luigi gets stuck in the dark world.
Yeah.
And being able to like experience that in person would be so freaking fun. Now, it should specify a couple of things. This rumor, obviously still a rumor, but it is coming from multiple sources apparently. So seemingly pretty solid potentially. Beginning plans can change.
Okay.
They're also, based off what we know so far, there isn't necessarily an AR component rumored. I just feel like it'd be such a great fit here because one of the coolest effects at the Haunted Mansion in Disney, at Disneyland Disney World, is that ballroom scene where like you're going through a room and you see actual ghosts appear in front of you, actual apparitions appearing, like fading in, fading out. That's so freaking cool. And if it can replicate, something similar interactive using AR, which I think is the only way you could really do it that way, man, that could be amazing. That could be so freaking cool. Like, maybe that's a key to Super Nintendo World, is like all this AR stuff, like augmenting the experience and making it feel more like you're in it, right?
Yeah, no, like I think that really is it, because especially since, again, you're dealing with ghosts, having like physical props, while it'd be silly looking, also isn't really gonna sell the experience that much because, well, they're ghosts. They shouldn't be that tangible.
Right, exactly. Good point. So I think what's exciting about AR technology is it allows you to marry these actual physical sets with these 3D CG characters. And that's really the only good way to do it. You could try to use 3D screens to an extent, but it'd be more limited than what you can do, like what they've already done with the Mario Kart ride, where you can put these characters like all around you. To a degree far greater than a 3D screen could, especially when you marry it again with these physical sets, which is the key to selling this effect. Like, that's what I want to feel, Tris. I want to feel like I'm in an actual physical location, and there's actual ghosts appearing in front of me that I'm then hunting down. Do you think there'd be a flashlight component to this, though? Like, I mean, again, we're even assuming this is rather, we know it's interactive.
Right.
But do you think there would be a flashlight component to, like, lighting them up like in the games?
I think kind of. I don't think it'd be like a separate control. I think it'd all be tied to the poltergust, and there'd be like the button on it. You have to like hit it to stun them and hold down the button then to be able to capture them. I think they'd want to make it simple enough to actually interact with, but in execution, actually going through it, it'll probably feel like the whole modern Luigi's Mansion process.
Yeah, I mean, Luigi's Mansion, the mechanics of Luigi's Mansion already lend themselves so well, because when you're not vacuuming, you're using the flashlight. And that could be exactly how the ride works. Like, maybe you have to, this could be cool, maybe you have to, like, suss out the ghosts. Like, you see, like, a chair shake or something, so you shine your flashlight onto the chair, that pulls out the ghost. That's how you suck them up then. I like that, because that also means there's certain areas to look out for that you can actually make it happen. And it makes it feel more interactive. You can change.
Because like you're making it happen then.
Oh man, I don't want to overhype myself, Tris. I am so hyped because this makes so much sense. Now, how would Luigi actually factor into the ride though? Like, we haven't touched on that. Like, is he? Oh, what I would kind of love? If we are the ones helping Luigi. Luigi's lost his poltergust. He's helpless. So in every scene, you see him like just cowering in a corner or something. And then once we free the ghost of the room, that's when he's like, oh, thank you. Or, like he gets happy and excited and he springs to life before running off into the next room. We have to go help him again.
Oh, man. No, I kind of love that. Like having Luigi kind of like have his own adventure throughout this as you're going through, you're helping him. What comes to mind for me is imagine like the cart or whatever it is that you're in, the mechanism that you're sitting in and going around on has the Game Boy Horror on it. So you get constant feedback from Professor Egad telling you where to go and what's going on. And probably also from Luigi, transmissions from Luigi about like where he is in the mansion currently, what's happening over there, and Egad being like, oh man, Luigi needs backup, you gotta get over there, kind of thing.
This is making way too much sense. You just nailed it. 100%. There will be a screen on the vehicle. Egad will appear on it, and I hope I'd be fine if they actually let him speak English now. Like,
yeah.
Give him an actual voice. Let him like quickly communicate what we need to do. That. I love it. I'm loving everything about this. This could be really fun. I hope this rumor better be true now. If it's not, going to be very upset.
I think what's most interesting about this is the fact that it sounds, unless I misread the rumor, it sounds like this could also be one that's relatively sooner, kind of far off still, like compared to Pokemon, but relatively sooner compared to like Zelda, because this is an expansion to specifically Super Nintendo World, like the Donkey Kong one currently is, as opposed to replacing an entire land.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And the rumor is basically said something to the effect to be among the first wave of attractions added to the park, when it opens. Because we already know it's opening with not just Super Nintendo World, but also Donkey Kong, which are also building in Japan. So and it's going to be the biggest Super Nintendo World yet. And there's already a plot of land between the existing Super Nintendo World and another land at Epic Universe, being the Classic Monsters land. I forget what it's called exactly. Mm-hmm. And so there is room for it to fit there. And whether this attraction takes up the entire space or not, I don't know yet. But again, it could be its own entire mini land, which would be incredible. In which case, you could add a restaurant. You could add maybe another smaller attraction. I don't fully know what form that would take, but I just need this to happen now.
Now hear me out with this too. So let's say if Super Nintendo World in Orlando opens up, I think 2025, right? So like sometime next year, not this year. So
correct, yeah, next year.
And if it's supposed to be an expansion to that, probably within 2 years of that opening, so probably by at that point 2027. What if this is timed around the rumored Luigi's Mansion movie, show, whatever they wanted to do after the Mario movie? So they really keep going with Luigi,
right?
The Luigi side of it, and there you go.
Hey, I'm there for it. If they end up making a Luigi's Mansion movie or a greater Luigi component of the next Mario movie, whatever ends up taking, I think that would make a lot of sense. So as we discussed, it could make sense for Zelda. Why not make sense for why wouldn't it make sense for Luigi as well?
Yep.
Though I do think they could also open it any time and be a huge success regardless.
Of course.
All right, Tress, we should probably wrap it up. Final thoughts on any of this or all of this?
I mean, I hope it all happens. I hope it all happens because I want to go.
Right, 100%. 100%. Like, it's so fun to be reinvigorated with these theme park rumors because, I've been wanting Super Nintendo World, a Nintendo theme park for years, and we finally got it at Hollywood, in Hollywood, in Japan, and soon Orlando. But, now that I've been on it, it's like, okay, what's next? And I want to see the next step of that. And if it involves Pokemon, Zelda, and Luigi's Mansion, oh my god, like that is it, along with Donkey Kong, which is coming soon as well.
Right.
That's incredible. Like I don't know where you go from there. Like that's a lot of the major IPs that I've always wanted to see in a theme park. And like that'd be incredible. Like and it'll make Orlando like the worldwide destination for like Nintendo-based attractions. Like it would have everything basically and spread across three different parks, and that'd be amazing. With that being said, that's still a lot to expect. I'm not expecting all this to come to fruition, at least as we discussed here, but I hope again that it does, because it would be amazing. Tress, what are you most excited for real quick of these three?
Man, I mean, I mentioned like I mentioned Zelda earlier, but I think I hyped myself up for Luigi's Mansion.
But that's the easiest one to envision, I feel like, right?
It is.
And that could be a lot of fun, especially getting even more of Luigi's personality. Like being able to see any more of that is always a great thing. So
absolutely.
But I do think Zelda has the most potential to surprise us, because there's so much you can do. There's so many things that we aren't even imagining at this point. And I'm excited to see what they come up with, again assuming it happens.
Oh, absolutely. Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. All right, everyone, that's gonna wrap up our rumor discussion. Thanks for watching. Of course, make sure to check out again Orlando Park Stop for more details on these rumors. I'll link to it in the description below if you want to check out for yourself. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and keep it locked to GameXplain for even more on Super Nintendo World in the future and everything else Nintendo as well. We'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.